האם זה באמת סגולה בדוקה? הסגולה ללמוד בזה?
Erev Tov and good evening, everyone. We are in the Zera Shimshon on Parsha's Trumah. We're going to take a look at section 3, Os Gimel. And before we do, we're going to take a look at two psukim, one right from the beginning of our Parsha, of Parsha's Trumah, and one from sefer Mishlei. And we'll see that the Zera Shimshon is going to start with these two psukim. So first, from our Parsha, Vayadaber Hashem el Moshe Lemor, and Hashem spoke to Moshe, saying, Daber el Bnei Yisrael, speak to Bnei Yisrael, v'yikchu li Trumah, and they should take for me a portion, me'es kol ish asher yidvenu libo, from every man whose heart inspires him, tikhu es trumasi, you should take my portion. And of course, this mitzvah had to do with collecting the items that were needed for the Hakamas HaMishkan, for the building and the setting up, the establishment of the Mishkan, the tabernacle in the Midbar, in the wilderness. So that's the first pasuk. And now the pasuk in Mishlei, a very famous pasuk. This is Perek Daled pasuk Beis in Mishlei. Ki lekach tov nasati lachem, because I have given you a good acquisition. Torasi al ta'azovu, you should not forsake my Torah. And just by simply looking at the two psukim or pondering them for a moment, we see we have the word v'yikchu, and they shall take, and then we have ki lekach tov, because a good acquisition or a good purchase or something that's good to be taken have I given you, and then we see that in the pasuk in Mishlei. So we're going to see what the Zera Shimshon does with these psukim. Section Gimel, Midrash Rabbah. It states in the Midrash Rabbah, v'yikchu li Trumah, that here right in our Parsha, it says they should take for me an offering or a portion. Hadohu dichsiv. This pasuk is related to a pasuk in Mishlei. Ki lekach tov nasati lochem, because I have given you a good taking or a good acquisition, something, I've given you something that's good to take. And of course, those are the two psukim that we just looked at. Al ta'azvu et hamikach. And the pasuk goes on to say, don't forsake my Torah. And so the Midrash paraphrases that, do not forsake this good purchase, this good acquisition that I have given you. And the Midrash continues, Yesh lecha adam lokeach mikach. You can have a person who makes a purchase, yesh bo zahav, ein bo kesef. And it has gold in it, but it might not have silver in it. Yesh bo kesef, v'yein bo zahav. It might have silver in it, but it doesn't have gold in it. Aval hamikach shenasati lochem, but the good acquisition that I gave you, and that is the Torah, v'chule, etc., and the etc. leaves out the words where the Midrash says that acquisition of the Torah that I gave you that I gave to the Jewish people, it has everything. It's not deficient in anything. It's not like a purchase that we would make in a store, where if we buy one thing, we're not getting the other thing, and if we buy the second thing, we're not getting the first thing. And every purchase that we make is missing something by definition. But the Torah is not like that. Hashem gave us the Torah, and that's a superior lekach, a superior acquisition, because it has, so to speak, both gold and silver. You don't have to give up either one of those. Then the Medrash continues, Yesh lecha adam lokeach sodos. You might have a person, and now we're talking about a person who's in real estate, or he's buying land, so he can buy fields, which means fields for planting things, avolo krumim, but perhaps he doesn't buy vineyards in which he's not planting seeds, he's not planting wheat or barley. Instead, he's buying fields for planting, but he doesn't have vineyards for growing, for netios, for planting saplings and growing vines in his vineyard, or the v'chule, etc. And that leaves out the words in the Medrash which say, or a person might go and buy krumim, he might buy vineyards, but he won't have sados. He won't have fields for planting seeds. So again, the Medrash gives an example of when you buy land, you can buy land for one kind of purpose, but you'll be missing land for a different purpose. Or you can buy land for the second purpose, but be missing land for the first purpose. And then it continues with a third example. Yesh locha adam lokeach mikach. Or you might have a person who makes a purchase, an acquisition, uvnei adam einam yodim mahu, and people do not know what it is, right? A person buys something and people aren't sure about what he bought and what the value is. Ela mischar hasarsor nisvada ma lokach. But only from the payment which is given to the middleman, to the broker, will it be known what it is that he bought. So we might not be able to find out a lot of information about the actual thing that a person purchased and what its actual use and value is. But if we find out that the broker, the salesman, got a hefty commission, then we have some idea as to the value of the item. So the Medrash continues, Kacha Torah eino yodea mahu. So too the Torah, we don't know what it is. Ella, meaning we can't assess its true value. Ella misachar shelokach Moshe, except from the reward that Moshe took. Shenemar u'Moshe lo yoda ki koran or ponav. Pasuk in the Torah states Moshe did not know that his face, the skin of his face, was emitting rays, was radiating light, v'chule, etc. Ad kan Lishono, until here is a quote from the Medrash. So this is, of course, an unusual Medrash, and the Zera Shimshon in a moment, the next paragraph is going to refer to it as a Medrash Tamuah, a wondrous Medrash, an unbelievable Medrash, or meaning it's a hard to understand Medrash, and he's going to set out to explain it. But certainly we can see that the Torah, that the Medrash is telling us that the purchase or acquisition, the lekach tov, the good acquisition that Hashem gave the Jewish people when he gave them the Torah, is superior to any acquisition or purchase that is normally made in our world, because, as the first two examples told us, when we buy something, we're not buying everything. We're always buying something, but leaving something else out. And of course, that's true of any purchase that any human being could make. No person in the world, even the most wealthy and the most acquisitive, make purchases in which that's it. They have now purchased everything, all material wealth in the universe. That's not how it works. But the Torah has everything in it, and the Torah that was given to us is not deficient in any way. And it's not like a person who buys fields for planting seeds but doesn't get the vineyard, or vice versa, or buys gold but doesn't get silver, or vice versa. And then the third point in the Medrash is actually a kind of comparison, saying sometimes when a person purchases something, the only way to really have any kind of idea or assessment about the value of that thing is from the a commission that the broker received. And that is similar to the Torah, because we are not in a position to assess the true value of the Torah. However, we can gauge from the fact that Moshe's face was radiating light, that there's an intense spiritual value to the Torah, because Moshe, who is the one who received it, and he was the middleman in the sense that he received it and transmitted it to the Jewish people, he received an unprecedented and unparalleled spiritual kind of reward to reflect to us the spiritual power, our illumination that the Torah contains. So now let's continue as the Zera Shimshon sets out to give us a deeper explanation as to what this Midrash is really trying to say. Next paragraph. Uvipshata Medrash zeh hatamua. And in order to explain on the simple level, at least to start with, this incredible Medrash, Yesh Lomar, we can say, shenoda, that it is known, shahatorah nechelekes l'shlosha chalokim, that the Torah may be divided into three parts. Chelek ha'maaseh, the part of doing, chelek ha'iyun, the part of deep study, v'chelek hasod, and the part of hidden meanings or Kabbalistic meanings. So let's pause here before the Zera Shimshon connects this to the Medrash and uses it to begin explaining the Medrash, just to take in this concept itself, which is, of course, an important concept, an important yesod. The Zera Shimshon is teaching us that the Torah can be viewed as if it has three aspects, or contains three parts. Chelek ha'maaseh, the part of doing, which apparently means the mitzvos in the Torah that we fulfill by doing certain actions, and that's one part of the Torah. Chelek ha'iyun, the idea of studying the Torah. Besides doing the mitzvos, in addition to reading the Torah in order to know how to do the mitzvos, there is an obligation on us to study the Torah iyun in a deep way, and to analyze and to delve into its teaching. And that's the second part. That's the chelek ha'iyun. The chelek hasod. And then even if a person is doing the ma'asim, doing the mitzvos, doing the actions that the Torah prescribes, and a person is also engaging in deep penetrative study of the Torah, the iyun, studying the Torah be'iyun, there is still a whole other section of the Torah, which is the sod, the hidden mysteries of the Torah, which most people do not ever delve into, sometimes not at all, and sometimes certainly not to the depth that only the great mystical scholars, the great Mekubalim, can attain. So those are the three parts. Now the Zera Shimshon is going to connect those three parts to the three ideas that the Medrash discussed. Next paragraph. U'cheneged chelek ha'maaseh, corresponding to the part of the Torah that has to do with actions, with doing mitzvos, Omar HaMedrash, the Medrash says, Yesh bo zoha ve'ein bo kesef, an object a purchase that you make, you might get gold, but you might not get silver. Yesh bo kesef v'chula, you might buy silver, but might not get gold. What does that symbolize? Demisha oseh eze mitzvah, someone who does a mitzvah, kono lo osher uschus godol la'olam haba. That person, unlike a person who makes a material purchase in this world, the person who does a mitzvah, any mitzvah, he acquires for himself wealth and merit, a tremendous wealth and merit in the next world. V'chol ha-mitzvos matan sechoron shaveh. And all of the mitzvos, their reward is equal. K'diamrinon, as Chazal say, shakal hakosov kala shebekalos, the Torah equated the easiest of all easy mitzvos, which is shiluach hakan, which is sending away the mother bird when you go to take the eggs, or the efrochim, or the chicks. When you go to take the eggs or chicks of a wild bird, you have the easiest mitzvah in the world to shoo away the mother bird. Just by shooing it away, you've accomplished a Torah mitzvah. Im chamura shebachamuros, the Torah equated that mitzvah with one of the most difficult of all difficult mitzvahs to fulfill in its true manner, kibud av ve'em, honoring one's mother and father. Chazal go to great lengths to teach how difficult it is to truly accomplish the mitzvah of kibud av ve'em in all of its various aspects and in all situations. So why are those two mitzvahs being equated? Lomar lecha, to say to you, shekol mitzvah, for every mitzvah matan sechora arichos yamim, to teach you that all mitzvos, even when the Torah doesn't mention lengthening our days, all mitzvos give you a reward of the lengthening of the days. And that's a reference to olam haba. That's not referring to a lengthening of days in this world, but a lengthening of days, meaning in the place where days are truly long, and not as short, not 24-hour days as in this world in olam hazeh, but rather where time is truly can be lengthened, and that's in the next world. And all the performance of each and every mitzvah, the easiest and the hardest, all bring a person that wonderful reward in the next world in olam haba. Im kain, if so, if one person does a certain mitzvah, v'chavero mitzvah acheres, and his friend does a different mitzvah, lo yomar echad, the first person should not say, ani asisi achamura, I have done a harder mitzvah, yeh zohav, so I'm going to have a golden reward. Va'ato asisa hakala, and you have done an easier mitzvah, v'yeh lecha, and there will be to you, moving to the top of the next column, kesef, you'll have a silver reward. No one should ever assume that their reward, their sechar for doing a certain mitzvah is going to be greater than another person's reward, even if the first person thinks that he or she did a much harder and more difficult mitzvah than the second person. They should still, they should not think that the rewards will be, one will be golden and one will be silver. Dahainu sachar merubah v'sachar muad, which would mean they're thinking one person's going to get a lot of reward and the other person's only going to get a reduced reward. Elo, but rather kulon shavos usacharon merubah. Everyone who does mitzvos will receive an equal reward of olam haba, and their reward will be great. Kedisnan, as the Mishnah teaches in Maseches Avos, have a zohir b'mitzvah kala kivachamura. Be careful with a simple mitzvah or an easy mitzvah as you would be with a hard mitzvah, or maybe what you view as a more serious mitzvah. Be equally careful in your meticulousness of your observance when you do an easy mitzvah or what you view as a low-level mitzvah, as you would in the most serious mitzvah. She'enato yodea matan sacharon shel mitzvos, because you do not know the true reward that comes from the performance of mitzvos. So the Zera Shimshon here has explained the first part of the medrash when it differentiated between a person who makes a purchase in this world and their purchase will always be deficient, and one person might buy gold and one person might buy silver, or one person, just talking about one person, they may buy one thing but not get the other thing. And the Zera Shimshon is saying that the Medrash is teaching us that the Torah is not like that, because when the person does a mitzvah in the Torah, that person is going to receive, whether or not they're doing a simple mitzvah, an easy mitzvah, or a hard mitzvah, they're going to receive a great reward, a magnificent reward in olam haba. So it's not similar to people making purchases in this world. Next paragraph, Uchaneged chelek ha'iyun, corresponding to the second part of the Torah that the Zera Shimshon taught us about, which is iyun, the intensive study of Torah, she'adam mechadesh umotzi parparaos lachachma, in which a person brings out and innovates new ideas and new wisdom in understanding the ideas of the Torah. When a person studies in depth, they're able to see things that they haven't seen before, and perhaps even that other people haven't, insights that other people haven't seen before. Have a dumya disado suchramim. This idea is similar to the second part of the Medrash that talked about people purchasing fields for planting and krumim in vineyards, fields for seeding, I should say, and vineyards for planting grapevines. Shegam he motziim pri, because in both of those cases, a person's goal is to bring forth produce, to bring forth fruit, whether it's the seeds and they're going to grow and give people something that they need, a commodity that they need, wheat and barley, for example, or the person who plants a vineyard and, of course, is going to be producing grapes and grape juice and wine and all of the products that come from a karam, from a vineyard. Just like a person who studies Torah it's going to be fruitful. They're going to produce new ideas and new insights. V'yesh arotzos reuyos lizriya, ve'ein reuyos l'netiya. And some pieces of land, some fields, some parts of land are fit for planting seeds, but they're not fit for netiya, for planting things like vineyards. So different soil is to be preferred for certain kinds of planting. V'yesh lehefech. And some are the opposite. Some fields would be good to plant a vineyard or a grove, an olive grove perhaps, or a fruit grove, but would not be good for planting seeds and for seeding. Aval be'iyon haTorah, but when it comes to intensive study in Torah, misha ma'ayin ba, someone who studies Torah deeply, mechadish ba kol minei chidushin, they are able to innovate and come up with creative and new, all different types of new ideas and new insights. V'noteya haTorah bizichrono, and this person, through his intense study, will be planting the Torah in his memory. Ki hapilpul mekayim hazikaron, because the intensive analysis of the Torah helps the memory. It helps establish the memory of what the person is studying in his mind. Keder Omar le Rabbi Chanina le Rabbi Chia, as the Gemara in Ksubas quotes about what Rabbi Chanina said to Rabbi Chia. The ichas v'sholem mishtakecha Torah mi Yisrael. If God forbid the Torah would be forgotten from the Jewish people, madarna le mi pilpuli, I would be able to restore the Torah from my intensive analysis and intensive study. Meaning he had studied the Torah so deeply and so profoundly that he was claiming that if God forbid the Jewish people hypothetically ever forgot the Torah and lost the Torah, he could restore it all because of the intensive time and effort and energy that he had delved into the Torah. He could restore the Torah. And when a person comes up with a new idea and understanding the Torah, new insight, two things are required. Zikaron tov mikol ma shelamad, a good memory about everything that the person studied and learned before. So a strong memory is required. V'seichel yoshar, and a clear and straight intellect or logic. Le'ayin u'lehavin dover mitoch dover, to be able to compare and understand one thing from another thing, so that the person is able to take the things that he learned and is able to make comparisons and contrast things and compare things and come up with new insights. Dahainu mamish kemo sodos ukramim. And these two aspects that are necessary to be mechadesh in Torah, to come up with new insights in Torah, are exactly like the expressions that the Medrash used of fields and vineyards. Shetzarech haaretz tiyeh re'uya, because you need the ground itself to be fit. That's the sados, the ground, which represents the memory of a person. When a person studies Torah and remembers it, they're laying the groundwork, so to speak. That gives them the ground. V'gam hanetiya tiyeh mimin ha'anova hatova, and they also have to be able to plant in that ground from the correct kinds of grapes or the correct type of species of saplings into the ground, and that's the represents the seichel tov, the good logic, and the clear thinking, and a person has to have both of those. So let's pause here for a moment. So the second illustration in the Medrash about the difference between purchasing fields, in which if you buy one field, you're leaving out a different field and a different type of field, so you can do certain things but not other things in an agricultural sense. The Torah is not like that. The Medrash is teaching us the Torah is not like that, because if a person studies the Torah in depth and intensively, they will be able to remember their learning, and in addition, they'll be able to be mechadesh, to innovate and come up with new insights. So you're able to do both. If you switch from land purchases and agricultural pursuits, and you invest your time and energy in studying Torah in a deep way, iyun, the cheluk of iyun, of intensive study of Torah, then you won't be missing anything. You will have the memory of the things that you learned which is important by itself, but you'll also be able to use that soil, so to speak, to grow new things and new products through the seichel tov, through the clear logic that you develop when you study Torah in the proper way. Now let's move to the next paragraph. Uchaneged chelek hasod, corresponding to the part of the Torah that's referred to as the hidden part, the recondite information and mysteries of the Torah. Omar, the Medrash says, Yesh locha adam lokeach mikach ve'ein adam yodea mahu. It is similar to a person who makes a purchase and people don't know exactly what it is, its value. Even the person who purchased it himself might realize its true value. The afilu misha yodea hasodos, and this can be compared to a person, even a person who knows from the hidden mysteries of the Torah. Kama devorim nisharim mimenu ne'elomim. Certain other things remain hidden from him. That it is impossible for the mouth to even articulate and talk about. So any person who even goes past the first part of Maaseh and past the part of Eon and is able to involve himself in the study of the Sod, the mysteries of the Torah, even that person, no matter how much they accomplish, there will be other mysteries and other sodos that they are not able to understand and are not able to grasp. Ela Shemi says, Shezoche Mevin Midato, but a person who merits it will understand from his knowledge, Shemin Hashamayim Mi'irim Nishmaso, because Min Hashamayim, they will illuminate his neshama, Kedei Sheyasig Besichlo L'Devarim Sesumim, so that he will be able to attain with his intellect hidden matters and hidden things. So a person who studies sodos and understands some of them, but others he can't understand, doesn't seem capable of understanding, he should continue delving and studying in order to merit and heavenly illumination and heavenly assistance, a siyata dishmaya, to be able to comprehend even deeper mysteries of the Torah. And this is proven from the rays of light that Moshe merited, the glorious light rays that Moshe merited to emanate from his face. Ki zocha lachamishim sharei bina, because he merited to understand all 50 of the gates of understanding, which is as much as or even more than a human being is capable of understanding under normal circumstances. V'zocha la'oro, and he merited the light that came from that heavenly illumination that enabled him to understand all of the hidden aspects of Torah. Next page. And after we understand all of this, meaning after we understand how the three parts of the comments in the Medrash connected to the three parts of Torah, the Maaseh, the Iyun, and the Sod, and how each part of the Medrash was referring to those parts of the Torah and to a person who engages in them, now we can answer another question, a different question, B'tchilas HaMedrash, and a statement that was made at the beginning of the Medrash, which the Zera Shimshon didn't quote. Which the Zera Shimshon did quote. Al ta'azvu es hamikach shenosati lochem. Do not forsake the acquisition which I have given to you. V'kosha, and it's a difficulty. Eich sal gedatoch lomar sheya'azvuha. How could anyone suggest or think that a person would forsake the Torah, that Bnei Yisrael, that the Jewish people would forsake the Torah? Meaning, why does it tell us to not forsake the Torah when it should be obvious that the Jewish people will never forsake the Torah? So to answer that question, V'yesh lomar, and we can say, Shebo lahashmionu, it is coming to teach us, She'eno dome sachar, the reward is not similar, Shel misha osa mitzvah achas b'shana, of someone who does a mitzvah once a year, lemisha osa b'chol yom, to someone who does a mitzvah every day. So even though the Zera Shimshon says that any person who does a mitzvah receives an equal reward to a different person, nonetheless, that doesn't mean that there's no qualitative difference and quantitative difference in the reward that goes to a person who does a mitzvah infrequently to a different person who does the mitzvah every day. And so too, someone who chases after the mitzvos, they're not only doing a mitzvah every day, but they're pursuing every opportunity to do mitzvos, all different mitzvos as much as the person can. That person's going to receive an additional reward even for the pursuit, the time and energy that the person puts in to finding and locating and running to do mitzvos of different kinds in different situations. They're going to ultimately be rewarded for that as well. A person who does not engage constantly in study of the study of Torah, an in-depth study of the Torah, lo yechadesh, he will not be able to come up with innovative ideas and unique insights, similarly to someone who is constantly involved in the intense study of Torah. And someone who is not making the effort to comprehend hidden secrets of the Torah, lo yasigem, is obviously never going to acquire them, never going to comprehend them. Mishum hachi, because of this, mazhir va'omer, because of this, the pasuk said, "Al ta'azovu, do not forsake the Torah. Afilu rega echad, haTorah shenasati lachem. Don't forsake it even for 1 second. This Torah that I gave you. She'im tihiyu misrapim ba, because if you are weak in your involvement with Torah, whether it's weak in your performance of mitzvos, or it's weak in your study, or if it's weak in your efforts to attain knowledge of the sodos of the Torah, lo timtzu uba hatov, then you will not find the true goodness shehivtachti lachem, that I have promised you. V'zehu ki lekach tov, and this is what it really means when it says, I have given you a good acquisition, meaning I've given you something that's so good, it's endlessly good. And the more you involve yourself in it, and the doing of the mitzvos, and the intensive study, and the pursuit of being able to understand the mysteries of the Torah, the more you engage of all of those things, then the greater is the tov, the greater is the reward, and the greater will be your understanding and spiritual reward and knowledge of the Torah. So the Zera Shimshon here has taken a medrash, a piece from the Medrash Rabbah, and he has let us see that it was very hard to know exactly what it was talking about on its own, but then he has taught us the idea of the 3 parts of Torah, the Maseh, the Iyun, and the Sod, and how the Medrash is clearly addressing those things, and then how the pasuk, the Medrash, is telling us that the pasuk itself in Mishlei is telling us, don't forsake the Torah, meaning don't even forsake it for a minute if you possibly can avoid it. Every bit of intensity and energy that you put into pursuing the Torah in its 3 aspects will bring you more and more tov, more and more good, and more sachar, more and more reward. Yashikach to joining us this week in the Zera Shimshon. We look forward, God willing, to studying again in the Zera Shimshon on next week's Parsha.